It's me, ya girl, here to ruin your TBR again. Hey there, creepy peeps. My name is Nightmare Maven. Welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here, then just welcome. So happy you found me somehow. Hopefully stick around for a while. I know I just did a horror book recommendation video for you guys not that long ago, but I realized as I was thinking about my May content that I've never really talked about horror nonfiction books, and I have a ton. And nonfiction needs love also, so I thought I would share a couple of my favorites, give some recommendations. I'll start with a film studies type book. As somebody who has a degree in film studies, of course I have to recommend at least one. I have like a whole shelf of film studies books. But one of my absolute favorites that I go back to so many times is The Dread of Difference, Gender, and the Horror Film. This is the second edition, and as far as I could find, still the most recent edition. I believe the first edition was published in like the mid 90s, and I think this was like 2016, 2015, something like that. So like in book world, kind of old now. Most of the additions to the second edition included discussions on the torture porn movement of like the early aughts, stuff like that. I really love the essays in this book because the discussion of violence within these essays is not limited to violence just against women, but also how women respond to violence, and even how violence toward a male body can be seen as commentary on gender dynamics. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, Vicky, that sounds super binary, unfortunately, you would be correct. I know it's a hefty book, but unfortunately this one kind of misses the mark when it comes to discussions on trans and non-binary characters. But maybe there might be a third edition in the pipeline somewhere that might expand on that. Maybe, I'm not sure. I've also yet to find a whole book that covers discussions on that. In horror, like trans and non-binary characters in horror, essays for sure, like articles online and stuff, like by themselves, yes, but like compiled in a book I've yet to be able to find. But if anyone knows of one, put it in the comments, please. If you're more into literature studies, Monster, She Wrote is fantastic. Fair warning though, if you think I'm bad for your TBR, this book is like 20 me's. Honestly though, if you decide to pick up this book and read it, have a pen and paper next to you, your phone out, like Storygraph app open, whatever, because you're going to be adding to your TBR like with every chapter. This book covers the many women who pioneered, laid the foundation, and influenced the horror, science fiction, speculative genre of writing. You'll learn some stuff about your faves, you'll meet some new authors that you hadn't heard of before, and plus like the book is just gorgeous. Like, can we just take a minute to appreciate this cover? It's fucking gorgeous. Can't recommend this one enough for any of you book lovers out there. If you're more into biographies and memoirs, I have two recommendations for you. The first is Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark. Pretty self-explanatory. It's an autobiography of Cassandra Peterson, who plays the iconic Elvira. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll feel all the things. It's just full of wit and just so much of Elvira's trademark humor, and it makes it so easy to read. Like, it feels very conversational. Like, I read this in 2 sittings, and I mostly listened to this as an audiobook because Cassandra Peterson reads the book, and I am a sucker for autobiographies that are read by the author because it just feels like they're talking to you, you know? So I would recommend this anyway, but if you're into audiobooks, or if you're like looking to get into audiobooks, this one is like top 5 recommended audiobooks. It's so good. Now, if you are into like classic Universal movie monsters and you want something that's like a little bit of film history, a little bit of biography mixed together, The Lady from the Black Lagoon Hollywood Monsters and the Lost Legacy of Millicent Patrick by Mallory O'Meara. So good. This is like a very unique biography. Like I said, it's part biography on Millicent Patrick's life. It's part film history, especially horror film history. It's a little bit autobiographical as well because the book's premise is that the author Mallory O'Meara's favorite Universal movie monster is the creature from the Black Lagoon. So she was super excited to find out that the creature had actually been designed by a woman, and there was like little to no information about Millicent Patrick out there. So she's setting out to find out as much information as she can. And so it's like a labor of love. So you learn a little bit about the author, you learn a lot about Millicent Patrick, you learn a lot about the, the film industry back when this movie was made. Just fair warning, there may be some rage felt because the main reason that Millicent Patrick was given little to no credit for designing the monsters because we live in a patriarchal hellscape. We all knew this. But it's super engaging. You feel like you're uncovering facts about Millicent Patrick yourself. And it's just another great example about how marginalized groups and oppressed groups have always been a part of the horror community, a part of horror films, a part of horror cinema. They just typically were not given any credit. This is another one also that the cover is just gorgeous. And finally, I had to throw in a true crime book in here for all my true crime fans. My Friend Dahmer is one of the most unique true crime books I've ever read, and that's because it is a graphic novel. Author and illustrator Durf Beckdurf was a classmate in high school, I believe it is, of notorious murderer Jeffrey Dahmer. The graphic novel is mostly like a series of recollections from the author of his high school days, moments he remembers interacting with Jeffrey Dahmer, and just memories that he has. It's a little bit reminiscent in the way where it's kind of like, well, what if Jeffrey Dahmer just had like a really good group of friends? Could things have ended up differently? I feel like it's a very human reaction to finding out that you were once classmates or friends with or went out with a notorious serial killer. But like either way, it just makes for a really fascinating read. It's not true crime in the sense that we're like going in depth into all the murders or anything. This is very much Jeffrey Dahmer as a teenager in high school. So this is pre becoming a serial killer. I recommend this one. I think it's really good if you are really into true crime and you want a kind of different perspective on true crime than the normal kind of like crime procedural books. So those are just some horror nonfiction recommendations for you. If you have some nonfiction horror books you want to recommend to us in the comments so we can keep adding to our TBRs, please do in the comment section. It's much appreciated. Even if we act like we don't want to add to our TBRs, we totally do. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here, become a creepy peep today. I post 2 new videos every week. I do live streams, collaborations, all that fun stuff. So I'll see you soon with something. Until then, stay strange. Bye.